Hello, people on my page. How are you today? So this is going to be the second video in my series explaining what critical race theory is and how it affects you. So first, let me be clear. I am not criticizing who or how you voted. I started this channel to bring you things that I have and am learning about the direction our current government is heading. I realize that most of you have lives to live, and that's okay. But I must admit, I have taken a particular interest in our government over the past year and figured that perhaps if you don't have the time to seek out additional information, that perhaps you'd be willing to listen to someone you know, then not, I will be taking up the torch for you. With that being said, this channel is only meant to inform, nothing more. Do what you will with the information. If you feel that the information would be beneficial or helpful to anyone that you know, especially those with small children, those individuals who work in the educational arena, or any individual that works, period. The rescinding of President Trump's order banning critical race theory in the federal government and in any federal institution that receives federal funding has now been rescinded and is going to infiltrate not just your jobs, but your educational institutions as well. Again, like I said in the last video, it's already happening on college campuses. And I gave a breakdown as to how and when it started and how it is presenting today. Also, I need to clarify some terms. So when I refer to the far left, progressives, I'm not talking about Democrats. Although unfortunately, some of these so-called progressives have infiltrated the Democratic Party. These people are anything but progressive. Martin Luther King said in his I Have a Dream speech, I have a dream that one day my children will grow up and be judged by the content of their character and not the color of one's skin. Progressive liberals and critical race theory say, oh, no. You should view everything through the lens of race. We are literally going backwards, okay? Group identity politics is the norm now. They are going to start classifying individuals into groups of people, not individuals, okay? Because individuals, they in and of themselves are not black and white, they are shades of gray. But critical race theory says this group identity is more important than your entire lived experience. So I think before I talk about critical race theory, I need to touch on the Title VI in the Civil Rights Movement of 1965 and what it means. So if you'll notice right here, I have the Department of Education's website pulled up. And I'm going to try and link a video in the description that touches on this a little bit more. But the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or national origin in programs or activities receiving federal financial assistance. All federal agencies that provide grants or assistance are required to enforce Title VI. The U.S. Department of Education gives grants of financial assistance to schools and colleges and to certain other entities, including vocational rehabilitation programs. Okay, so examples of discrimination covered by Title VI include racial harassment, school segregation, and denial of language services to English learners. A fuller list of Title VI issues OCR addresses appears here. The U.S. Department of Education Title VI regulation is enforced by the department's Office of Civil Rights. Okay. So I think I mentioned in my last video that there is a gentleman by the name of Christopher Rufo. This gentleman was tantamount to President Trump's executive order banning critical race theory across all federal institutions. Whistleblower documents were being submitted to him, and he brought this to Trump's attention, which is why the executive order was put in place to begin with. So this is an article that he wrote on January 13th of this year about a Cupertino elementary school that forces third graders to deconstruct their racial identities, then rank themselves according to power and privilege. An elementary school in Cupertino, California, recently forced a class of third graders to deconstruct their racial identities and then rank themselves according to power and privilege. Based on whistleblower documents and parents familiar with the session, a third grade teacher at R.I. Meyerholtz Elementary began the lesson on social identities during a math class. The teacher asked all students to create an identity map listing their race, class, gender, religion, family structure, and other characteristics. The teacher explained that the students live in a dominant culture of white, middle-class, educated, able-bodied Christian English speakers who, according to the lesson, created and maintained this culture in order to hold power and stay in power. Next, reading from this book of Is Anti-Racist, the students learned that those with privilege have power over others, and that folks who do not benefit from their social identities, who are in a subordinate culture, have little to no privilege and power. As an example, the reading states that a white straight male who is able-bodied, heterosexual, considered handsome, and speaks English has more privilege than a Black transgendered woman. In some cases, because of the principles of intersectionality, there are parts of us that hold some power and other parts that are oppressed, even within a single individual. Following this discussion, the teacher had the students deconstruct their own intersectional identities and circle the identities that hold power and privilege on their identity maps, ranking their traits according to the hierarchy. Now, remember when I said last video, intersectionality is nothing more than the oppression Olympics. Where do you fit on the oppression hierarchy? The students were expected to produce at least one full page of writing. As an example, the presentation including a short paragraph about transgenderism and non-binary sexuality. Okay, this is an elementary school. Why are they teaching your children about sexuality? I don't know about you, but most 8-year-olds don't even have a concept of sexuality. This is indoctrination, folks. This is indoctrination. The lesson caused an immediate uproar among Meyerholtz Elementary parents. We were shocked, said one parent, who agreed to speak with me on the condition of anonymity. They were basically teaching racism to my 8-year-old. This parent, who is Asian American, rallied a group of a half a dozen families to protest the school's intersectionality curriculum. The group met with the school principal and demanded an end to the racially divisive instruction. After a tense meeting, the administration agreed to suspend the program. When reached for comment, Jen Lashier, the principal of Meyerholtz Elementary, said that the training was not part of the formal curricula, but the process of daily learning facilitated by a certified teacher. So I need you to keep in mind, some of these educators that are coming into our educational institutions have literally been indoctrinated in college to believe this. They're brainwashed individuals, okay? That are pushing their agenda onto our children, okay? The irony is that despite being 94% non-white, Meyerholtz Elementary is one of the most privileged schools in America. The median household income in Cupertino is $172,000, and nearly 80% of the residents have a bachelor's degree or higher. At the school, where the majority of families are Asian American, the students have exceptionally high rates of academic achievement, and the school consistently ranks in the top 1% of all elementary schools statewide. In short, nobody at Meyerholtz is oppressed. And the high school's high-achieving parents know that teaching intersectionality instead of math is a waste of time and potentially dangerous. One parent told me that critical race theory was reminiscent of the Chinese Cultural Revolution. Now, remember, I mentioned this in my last video, the Maoist China Cultural Revolution, where millions upon millions of Chinese citizens were slaughtered. They were slaughtered. It divides society between the oppressor and oppressed, and since these identities are inborn characteristics people cannot change, the only way to change it is via violent revolution, the parent said. Growing up in China, I had learned it many times. The outcome is the family will be ripped apart. Husband hates wife, children hates parents. I think it's already happening here. And it is, folks. And in case you haven't been paying attention, children are reporting or turning in their parents just for being at the Capitol, not the ones that participated in the breach of the Capitol, but just there to hear their president speak. They're losing their jobs. Job offers are being rescinded. This is not America, folks. This is communist China. The small fight at Meyerholtz reflects a larger development. For the first time, Asian Americans on the West Coast have become politically mobilized, and you need to be too. This is why I'm bringing this information to you, because it just isn't happening in schools. I will be doing a series of videos about this where it's coming into jobs. It is a violation of your civil rights, regardless of the color of your skin. In 2019, Asian Americans ran a successful initiative campaigning against affirmative action in Washington state. In 2020, Asian Americans ran a similar campaign in California, winning by an astonishing 57% to 43% margin. In both cases, they defended the principles of meritocracy, based on individual merits and successes, individual rights, and equality under the law, and roundly defeated a super coalition of the state's progressive politicians, activists, universities, media, and corporations. The stakes are high for the Asian American community. They're not just high for them now. It's high for everybody, okay? If you allow this stuff to infiltrate your child's school, they are going to turn your children into little mini communist activists, pushing an agenda that isn't true. For progressives insisting on the narrative of white supremacy and systemic racism, Asian Americans are the inconvenient minority. They significantly outperform all other racial groups, including whites, in terms of academic achievement, college admissions, household income, family stability, and other key measures. This is not about race. This is about class. Affirmative action and other critical race theory-based programs would devastate their admissions to universities and harm their futures. It's already starting. Places like Harvard are going to start discriminating against Asians because they excel so well. At Meyerholtz Elementary, the Asian American families are on high alert for critical race theory in the classroom. Since their initial victory, they have begun to consider campaigning against the school board. We think some of our school board members are critical race theory activists, and they must go. And I urge you to do the same. Said one parent, the capture of our public institutions by progressive, obsessed by race and privilege deserves opposition at every level. The parents of Cupertino have joined the fight. So here are some documents. So this is just some things that they're teaching or that they're going to try to teach to your child. What are my social identities? Okay, so race, ethnicity, socioeconomic class, gender, age. Language, religion, nationality, abilities, family structure. The culture that is considered normal. I don't know what they're talking about. Please define normal. But dominant culture in America. So this in and of itself is designed to create racism towards a particular class of people, white people in particular, okay? This is dangerous. We live in the United States, in a country with many different ethnicities, but this is going to teach people to hate white people, hate people that are middle class, hate people that are straight, educated, able-bodied, Christian, if you speak English, and then power and privilege. Okay, so I can't even tell you how dangerous the concept of privilege is, especially the concept of white privilege. Okay, the best way that I can explain it is, how detrimental do you think it is to tell your young child of a different ethnicity, that white people hold power and privilege, and that no matter what you do, you will never be successful. I just want you to think about that for a minute. Seriously, because that's what they're doing. They're telling children of ethnic backgrounds, different ethnic backgrounds, that no matter what you do, the white man will never let you succeed. What do you think this is going to do to a young mind, realistically? Because I know I try to raise my child to believe that he can be anything he wants as long as he works hard and sets a goal and works towards it, he can achieve it. And I'm pretty sure that most of you do the same thing as well. So what do you think will happen to a young 8-year-old mind if you tell them, if they are of a different ethnicity other than white, that no matter what you do, the culture, the white culture, is going to keep you down and you're never going to be successful? I can tell you what it's going to do. It's going to tell that young child that no matter what they try to do, they will never be successful because you've got this white man holding you down. I can't even begin to explain to you the illogical fallacy that is. Do you really think that Oprah Winfrey, growing up dirt poor and working her way through the ranks to become one of the first self-made billionaires, she's worth over $2 billion. What do you think would have happened to a young Oprah Winfrey when she was 8 years old, having been taught this toxic ideology? She might have still been a success, because there are those rare diamonds in the rough that the more you tell them no, the more they're going to say, F you, watch me fly. But those are rare exceptions. Those are like exceptions to the rule. The majority of children are going to internalize this. And I can't even begin to tell you the psychological damage it's going to do to them. Not to mention, it's going to create division, because now little children who are innately, just little products of love, they love everybody, they accept everybody, they don't view anybody as differently, are now going to start looking at their classmates in the terms of oppressed and oppressor. I can't even begin to explain to you how angry this makes me, which is why I'm bringing this to your attention. Okay, so now, which parts of your identity hold power and privilege? So these are things they have these 8-year-olds do. And then which of your identities hold power and privilege, which ones don't? So now they want you to write paragraphs about it. Okay. So this is just one of many examples that is going on across the United States. I will be bringing you more articles about this, things that they're trying to do in the curriculum that are dangerous. One of the things that I need you guys to understand is, although I'm not criticizing how you vote, I am going to criticize the fact that you're not paying attention. The Democratic Party that you think you're voting for no longer exists, okay? I can't stress this enough. And if you haven't been paying attention to the executive orders that Biden is unraveling and the new things that he's instituting, you need to. You really need to. And you need to share this video with any parent that has a small school-age child. And I would even urge you to share it with parents that have younger college-age children, like, straight out of high school into college, because this is coming. This is already in a college near you. They're now trying to institute it in elementary school so that they can get them while they're young. Okay, I have literally been watching on the different sources and outlets that I follow families being torn apart by this. Torn apart. This is not what the United States stands for. For those of you that believe, like I said, America can be great and we can end racism starting at home. And I'd be willing to bet that almost every single person on my page, well, I already know, because I don't know bad people. I know people that have beautiful hearts and beautiful minds and a faith in their God. And this is against everything that the founding fathers and the Constitution of the United States stood for. Okay? This is not striving for a more perfect union like it states in the Declaration of Independence. This is literally trying to destroy this country at its very foundation. Because what is the foundation of our country, ladies and gentlemen? It begins with our children. And they're trying to bring this into our schools. So you need to be vigilant. Unfortunately, now casting your vote and walking away and not concerning yourself anymore isn't an option. It's just not. And I can't stress that enough. I really can't. We have a long fight. This is a culture war. And like I referred to, the left, these so-called progressives, which really should be renamed to regressives, because that's what they are. They're looking to take back and roll back all of the progress that we have made. All of it. All these people see is racial identity or sexual identity or just labels. They like labels. They like to label people. They want to put people in groups rather than viewing people as individuals. That is not who we are. We are a nation of individuals, free to think and speak as we choose. And the censorship that's going on right now is, but they've got the power of big tech institutions behind them. They can silence anybody that they don't agree with. They can label anybody that doesn't agree with them and their narrative is racist or white supremacist or whatever demeaning label that they want to put, simply for speaking the truth. There's something very wrong with this country right now. And Joe Biden is their puppet. All I can say is that please pay attention. We are not living in the same reality that some of these people are, okay? Because I would digress that when all you see is race, when that's your primary focus, that you yourself might be the racist. I want you to think about that, because I don't look at physical defining characteristics as a fundamental part of a whole person, but that's how these people look at it. The lack of or production of the melanin content in your skin is not what defines you. We are so much more than that. So, like I said, this is the second video. This is what's going on in schools. I will have other videos addressing more of the articles that people have brought to his attention that is going on in schools and workplaces across the United States. And I need you to understand that you need to be vigilant in checking out your child's curriculum, talking to them about what they're learning in school. Because if you suspect that this what I just discussed is being taught to your child in school, you need to raise HE double hockey sticks and tell them no. You need to go to your board of education and you need to tell them no. And you need to get a group of parents together and coalesce and tell them no. We do not want critical race theory in our schools. This is not how we're raising our children. This is not your place to teach our child this. Until next time, my friends, remember hypocrisy is everywhere. Speak truth to lies.